Good afternoon, and thank you everybody for coming back to another show of Dimas Wine Shop and Tasting Room. This is our weekly video, and I know we haven't done it in a couple of weeks, but here we are back, and the only reason is because of so many conflicting schedules. But we got a great lineup for you. I was just in Paso this past week, so there's a few of these wines here, a couple of these wines or three of these wines that are really ringing true to me right now. But this is all about spring cleaning. So these are bottles that we've got probably less than a case of, and they're good bottles, and we want to show you them and sell them to you. I don't recall any of these, with the exception of the Halter Ranch, that have been on prior tastings, but I want to introduce these wines to you because I think they're absolutely incredible. Let's go ahead and start out with Adelaida. I love Adelaida. I've always been a huge fan of what Adelaida does, but this is their 2012. This is their Finder, which is a blend, of course. Grenache Blanc, Viognier, and Picpoul is the blend. And just to give you an idea, it's almost 50-50 Grenache Blanc and Viognier with just a little splash of Picpoul. 43% of which all the Picpoul falls in that 43%. So 43% is done in stainless steel. The rest is done in neutral oak. And the neutral oak is done for 6 months. But this is, if you're into kind of like those white blossomy wines that have got like some green apples and some citrus to them, I think this is a way to go. This is a great way to go. The Viognier, just by tasting it, I get the feeling that it goes through a little bit of malolactic fermentation. So I think that, especially for your summer drinking, as we go into as we start heading into the warmer months, this is going to be an outstanding wine for you to get into. Let's switch over to the Basil, which is a Claret. So I want to talk a little bit about, because I've had a lot of questions about the difference between a Meritage and a Claret. So anytime you're talking about Meritage, you're always talking about the 4 Bordeaux varietals, which is Cabernet Sauvignon, Cab Franc, Merlot, Petit Verdot, and Malbec. So you're always talking about a blend of one or many of those, I should say, it's always a blend of 2 or many of those varieties. But what's done here is that this also has a little bit of Syrah, which of course is a Rhone varietal, so as a result they can't call it a Meritage, so they choose to call it a Claret. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about this, because I think it's absolutely outstanding. So the Basil Cellars, this is their estate Claret, which comes out of Columbia Valley, Washington. 45% Cabernet Sauvignon, 32% Merlot, 12% Syrah, 7% Cab Franc, 3.5% Malbec, and just a little tiny splash of Petit Verdot. 20 months on a combination of French, American, Hungarian oak, which 50% is new, 50% is neutral, but really a well-blended, well-made wine. I understand now why they put the Syrah in here, and that the pepperiness on this wine definitely is coming from the Syrah. And the Syrah, even though it's not a huge amount, it's speaking pretty loud in here. You know, it comes out at like 10, 12, 15%. Let's go over to the Domaine Eden, which is a Pinot Noir. Now, a lot of people have said, hey, why are you switching these around? Why are you putting a Pinot Noir after a Claret? This Claret is really light. This Domaine Eden, I would really consider this a medium-bodied Pinot Noir. All the fruit comes out of out of Santa Cruz. It's 100% Pinot Noir. All of it comes out of Santa Cruz. And I really like the way this is. I really like the way this is blended. So this is Domaine Eden, which for many of you that have seen, like, I don't know, for those of you that were drinking wines in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you guys used to see these Masson. It was M-A-S-S-O-N, so Masson boxed wine, or it would be in huge jugs. Paul Masson was way back to the late 1800s when he came over and started making wine. But since then, a few generations fast forward, they certainly have been making some really good varietal wines that are really crafted. And I think that this Pinot Noir, I think, absolutely hits it right on the nose. And it's a real good deal as well. But here we got, it's 100% Pinot Noir out of Santa Cruz, like I said. No fining, no filtration. So it's going to be a little bit cloudy, which just means that it's had less flavors filtered out of it. All right, which I think is a good thing. It's dry farm, so the yields are low. Now, a lot of people ask me about this as well, about talking about dry farming and why is it so important. Well, what happens is when you have dry farming, the vines are stressed out. As a result of them being stressed out, they're going to kind of go into this survival mode where they're going to produce a little bit less fruit, or a lot of less fruit. As they produce less fruit, what happens is whatever is coming out of the ground, or whatever is coming from what we call terroir, is being dispersed amongst less clusters. As a result, what's happening here is you've got, I think, some pretty well extracted Pinot Noir. It's got those real raspberry and earthy notes, which I think is good classic Pinot Noir. And I think it's really, really well made, once again, at a great price point. Now, I was just over here, over at the Hearthstone not that long ago, just in the past few days. This is the 2010 Hearthstone Syrah out of Paso Robles, 100% Syrah. This is 30 months on French oak, and I like what he's done here. It's 30 months on French oak, 50% has been new oak, and then he switches it over to neutral oak for another 15 months. So what he's doing is he's taking the extraction out of the brand new oak barrels to really kind of give it that spiciness and a lot of those tea flavors that come out of French oak. And then he's taking another 15 months in order to soften the wine with a little bit of neutral oak. And like I said, it's a 50-50 blend of brand new oak and neutral oak. So I like I like the way this is made. Then we go over to the Halter Ranch. This is their 2011 Paso Robles Cabernet Sauvignon. Now it does have 81% Cabernet Sauvignon, 13% Malbec, and 6% Petit Verdot. 18 months on French oak, of which 40% is new. This is a big, bold wine that's got a lot of stone fruit to it. It's got blackberries, it's got some cassis. It's even maybe slightly resonating. But once again, I think these two wines, I'm going to taste it again, but I think that these next two wines, which is the Nyers Vineyard, the Mourvèdre, and this Halter Ranch, I think are just absolutely amazing wines that I think are well made and certainly worth talking about. Yeah, it's got that it is certified as a biodynamic winery. But I think the acidity is great on this wine. I think it pairs really well with food. I mean, I'd be throwing all kinds of meats at this, especially as we're going into warmer weather. You want to throw a ribeye at this. Even if you wanted to do something in the oven, you can do a prime rib with this. I think it'll absolutely work. You can do a great hanger steak. I think would absolutely work. If you do a chimichurri over your hanger steak, I would probably go a little bit less on the acid, just so that it doesn't overwhelm the wine. But I think this is a great wine moving from now through about October. So I don't know how many bottles we've got left, but I'm sure we'll order more. But we've got at least a few cases of this that I think all of you should come in and try. It comes in once again at a great price point. Now this one is a little bit more expensive wine. This is the Nyers Vineyards. Nyers Vineyards it's a Mourvèdre. I'm just going to finish this just because I don't have a spit bucket here. Gregory, you didn't bring me a spit bucket.
My bad.
But that's okay. So here we go. This is this here is the 2012 Nyers Mourvèdre. For the most part, what Nyers does is that they purchase a lot of their fruit. This comes from a vineyard in Sonoma. And the name of the vineyard is called Rossi Ranch. And the Rossi Ranch has gone through a few changes, but in 2000, it was bought by Paul and Stanley Ottolini. And what they did was, what had happened was because it had just kind of gone into dismay, this vineyard, they really brought it back to its glory, and I think even better than, there's a lot of old vines in on here at this vineyard. I don't want to say in this wine, but at this Rossi Ranch, there's a lot of Zinfandel, there's some Syrah there, and there's a lot of head trade vines, which head trade you really only get out of older vines. But there's only 4 acres of Mourvedre that's planted on here, and I really, really, really like this wine. This one comes in a little bit higher priced, but it is on the tasting for all you folks to try. God, it really is. You know, it's got this real kind of like, it smells like punch, almost like a little bit of Hawaiian punch, but then it's also got, you know, it certainly has some of those floral characteristics like lavender. But what's done with this Mourvedre is this is done, now for a lot of you that, I should say for all of you that aren't winemakers, Mourvedre and oak don't necessarily always get along that well. Okay, as a result, winemakers have to find a different way, because what happens is Mourvedre can oxidize really, really quickly. So what they've done is they've done this in 1/3 concrete, which are these huge concrete vats that, you know, I would say that there probably be at least 2,500, if not closer to, you know, from 2,500 to 10,000 gallons. But these are huge vats that the age is, or that the wine is fermented in and then aged in, and it does create kind of that floralness with a little bit of minerality. But then it also does see a little bit of neutral oak as well, which is the other 2/3 of neutral oak. But this is 95% Mourvedre, a little bit of, or the rest is Grenache. And there were only 80 cases of this produced, so it is really, really limited. Like I said, it's a little bit on the higher price. I think we're going to be probably approaching $30 on this, but I don't know that for a fact, but it certainly is. I think it drinks better than that. And I think this is another great wine to go into your spring and summer pairings with. I would do this. Here's what I would do with this. I would do this with barbecue sauce. I think that the notes on this, you know, you could throw out whether you're making your own vinegary or tomato-based or even a hoisin-based barbecue sauce. I think that this would go really, really well. So come in, try these wines. I really do like this tasting, and I can't wait for all of you to come in, try this, and I'll be here for a couple of days this week, and I would love to hear from all of you as to what you think of these wines. So until then, I'll see you folks soon. Cheers, God bless, and we'll see you soon.